Only one. So yeah, we are the University of Sherbrooke and the territory, and the same as where Bruno lives. We are both on the territory of the Wabanaki people, and we are grateful to work with them um, in many projects regarding university. And so my name is Philippe, professor in social work at the School of Social Work of Université de Sherbrooke, Southern Quebec. And I'm with Bruno Letendre, who will introduce himself. And I take a moment to that I am 2 generations away from farming, and I got into this research topic because in Quebec there was a concern with psychological distress, and people in public health noticed they quite understand what was going on with the occupational aspect of farmers' distress, and they noticed something with masculinity that was hard to understand. So from one contact to another, I got invited to do a PhD on stress coping among farming men 15 years ago, and the rest is history. I'm glad to work with farming community since. And also, it was interesting to go with the positive side that we're going to present today. Um, when I got this, I want this project to have a steering committee and having people with experience, knowledge. So from one contact to another, somebody told me about Bruno Letendre, and he has a long experience as a farmer and president. So I went on his farm to ask him to join a research project, and the rest is history. So Bruno, can you say a word about introducing yourself?
I will try because my English so-so, but I am a farmer since 1978. A former president of the Poste de Lettres Québec. I stopped to 2020, but I just the people, the guys that represent the farmer with this scientific people in this research. All the research is Philippe and the other, but me just to give confidence with during the meeting, just because the meeting was not the farmer are more able to talk between us and in front of scientific. Sometimes is ashamed,
Intimidated.
That's it's just my contribution. It's very few my contribution with this study. But it's a good. I like this because I discover many things I never things before. That is my presentation.
Thank you, Bruno. And I think from those two presentation we have, it reminds me how Bruno and I sometimes when we meet, it's like we don't meet directly, we send our imposter syndrome to meet halfway. So Bruno says, well, I'm not a researcher, and say, well, I'm not a farmer. And so our imposter syndrome are arguing, dancing, and so it's the meeting that makes this possible. So as he mentioned, he will come and I bring the structure way, and he brings the personal comments. So you can see it sometimes, I don't know, as a mini weed. So I bring the structure, and he brings the sugar coating. So I want to acknowledge also the work of research assistants who work with me, Roxane Fay, France Jodoin, but also other assistant who's been with us along the way. So first, why should we care about farming men in particular? So there's three social determinants we want to unfold here. So gender, men and masculinity, location, rural areas, and occupation, farming. So why should we care? So as men, there's social pressure to conform to traditional masculinity, being stoic, silent, strong, self-sufficient. When facing adversity, this trait can be useful, but not sufficient to lead to positive mental health. And there's some meta-analysis research that shows that the more you adhere to traditional masculinity, the more you're at risk of depression and suicide ideation. So as men, there's some social pressure. As rural residents, well, rural men's suicide rate is 50% higher than men in urban areas, while there's no significant difference between women in urban and rural area, at least from statistic we have from Quebec. I wonder how it is in Canada and elsewhere, since we have people from France notably. And as farmer, there's some high level of adversities. As if you watch the news, it's already news now. The value of relentless work, the value of pride, competition, and all of the above mentioned about masculinity. So to be clear, in Quebec, we don't know precisely the suicide rate of farmers because the coroner's inquiries do not include automatically the occupation. So my colleague, Ginette Lafleur, she went to the coroner's office to try to unfold it, and there's just no way to know with precision. I mean, although we know that there's some high rates of stress, anxiety, and extended stress. So that's why I think we should care about farming men in particular. And I think we should care about farming communities, men, women, people of diverse gender identity, as there are many challenges for all these people. So why should we care about positive mental health? Well, first, because it's positive. And so we try to frame positive mental health as something we go towards good mental health. There's some pre-pathological phase that could be arranged easily. There's some reversible phase like clinical depression, you can cover for that, but there's also some more severe consequences like irreversible, such as suicide. So we try to find the buffer to keep people in good mental health. So another way to frame the interest for positive mental health is asking a simple question: what makes us healthy, rather than what makes us sick. And years before I discovered that, I was in this mindset with mountain bike, because I used to do downhill mountain bike, and the slopes was rocks, roots, steep. And I said, there's no, I'm just gonna hurt myself. So problem focus approach. I was looking at the problem, in which tree can I hit? And I saw some people going in the trail say, oh, they just bump on that rock here and oh, they're gone. So what is the trail I need to go? And this is what came to my mind when I learned about, salutogenesis, what generates health. I know about solution focus approach in practice. So the health river of life is a good model to understand positive mental health. Again, salutogenesis is a long term that simply means what generates health. So as you can see, there's some possibility for promotion, health education, prevention, protection, and also curative actions. Like if you get in that waterfall and you broke an arm, you can get great curative actions. So we are looking at what generates flourishing mental health. It's positive emotions like well-being, satisfaction with life, gratitude, positive psychological functioning, the ability to think, to reflect, and positive social functioning, like all the social role you have as a father, as a son, a neighbor, worker, and positive interaction with family, friends, communities, social networks as well. And a sense of coherence, quite important, the perception of life and challenges as something manageable, something with sufficient resources, understandable and meaningful. And perceive family support and trust, which can mediate the relationship between sense of coherence and mental health. And sense of coherence right now is at stake with farmers' protest that's in Quebec, in France, and elsewhere. We see signs like we feed you, but we're dying too. So it's something that there's a lack of meaning. Like why am I doing all this for society and I feel there's no trade back, or I feel there's no something in the other way around. As you may have noticed, English is not my first language. If I say something that sounds weird, let me know. I can get lost in translation. And it happens, and it's usually with the worst confusion. So we see all those actions that can generate sale, but who can support this action? Think about something as a Russian doll. Like the individual can have positive action, the family and friends, the community, so does society, government, and the land. Now we are connected to the land, so environment, whether it can be a blessing or a challenge, especially with farming. The government policies can bring a social net, or it could be a burden. So this is the approach that we had in mind when doing this project. So it's a participatory research with a steering committee with people from Farmers Union, I don't say relève, but early farmers, young farmers union, and Au Cœur des Familles Agricoles, which is a non-profit organization providing psychological support to farming families in Quebec. They have a network of called Travailleurs de Rang, which is it's like street workers, but on the country road. So they were involved in defining the research question: what are the links between masculinity and positive mental health in agriculture? Because all those organizations, they noticed as well the challenge of working with men and farmers as well. We got qualitative methodology working with focus group with the Photovoice approach. So we include photos taken by participants to engage discussion. The focus group were facilitated by a researcher and a farmer, so myself and Bruno. We had 6 focus groups. The research was done in Quebec. So we had 3 groups we called general group in French. And we also want to have an inclusive aspect, including gay farmers and also English-speaking farmers, which in Quebec is a minority. It's again a Russian doll. In Quebec, they're a minority. In Canada, it's a majority. So that got this idea of inclusion was in my PhD. I remember discussing with one gay farmer, and I remember how it was a particular challenge for him. So I decided on this project, let's make room for diversity in this project. And same for English speaking, the fact that there are English speakers farming communities in Quebec, notably in Outaouais, which is close to Ontario, and also Eastern Township, close to Vermont, where I am right now. So we want to make sure that it was available in French and English. So each group met twice. On the first meeting, it was general questions, setting like a comfort zone where we can discuss. It was initially planned to do it in person in Eastern Township, but something happened called pandemic. So as we all went on our computer, we worked on that, and that was kind of that ended up being a good thing, because in this way we could have people from all over the province who we wouldn't have otherwise. So two meetings. The first one was more general. What is your motivation, your challenges, social support in farming? And between meeting 1 and 2, we got this instruction for the photo. So the participants were taking photos, and with a couple of questions to detail what they mean with their photo. And on the second meeting, we just make a tour of every participant's photos, and there's a description and reaction. This is clearly, the meeting number 2 was clearly the one we had the most emotional, I say, content. And with Bruno, we discussed it earlier that if we didn't have the 2 meetings, probably we could not go in that depth. Total of 31 participants in 6 focus group. Bruno, is there something you want to say about the methodology? Your mic, please.
Oui. J'ai pas bien compris ce que tu as demandé.
Is there something you want to say about the methodology that we use?
But the methodology, during the first meeting, the personnel that I think that it was very difficult to the farmer open to speak them problem, but we previous 2 hours and we pass over every meeting, because they start after 30 minutes and start a lot. They talk a lot, each one, and it's difficult to stop because it's very important to. I found that this manner to meeting is very good, because no distance, and the farmer has more facilities to talk, because around the table sometimes the people have the time to move and the time to connect with the other participant. But Zoom is very easy. I am surprised that the result that we have with this kind of the research. But me, it just make some intervention. Anybody can make my job. I'm not a researcher, and but sometimes with the experience and my last job, chairman of PLQ, many farmers know me, and before I think that it's negative, but no. The producer appreciate my presence in this discussion.
I agree with him. It's I was surprised at people's reaction when they open the camera and say, "Oh, it's Bruno Letendre, the former chairman of the dairy producer." And that's how I noticed there's a star system in the farming industry, and Bruno was definitely someone really appreciated. So the results, what is positive mental health based on? So there's 3 categories: relation with family and friends, farm animal and pets. There's activities on farm and off farm, and we'll go through some of them. So the first one, interpersonal relationship with friends and colleagues. So on the photo on the left with the fridge in the garage, this fridge gives me the pleasure of a great beer and in safety of the workshop. It brings out different conversation that probably wouldn't be otherwise. It's just a fun hangout with the neighbors, and they know if there's some lights on, they usually come over. I never turn anybody away. There's been a lot of good times come out of there. And we asked them, so if your photo is described as something positive, what can you do to make it more often? So this farmer, very pragmatic, he just say, well, keep the fridge full. The second photo is the logo of the Farmers Union in Quebec, L'Union des producteurs agricoles. And we were kind of surprised to see this this caption. And the farmer said, the participant said, well, there's some serious tension in my family, and the meetings at the Farmers Union is a safe space for me, a pause, and it gives me a sense of usefulness. He said, UPA is like my second family. When I go to meeting, I feel good. It makes me feel good morally, makes me grow a lot. I'm doing it because I like to help all producers to make it better for them. So Bruno, do you want to say a word about this picture?
Yes, because it disproves that the producer need to talk. And with the meeting, UPA is a good place to talk, but they don't resolve the issue. They just put in the back or and anywhere that the problem. But I discovered that the producer more need to talk that it's more important that the financial worries. Because during this meeting, they talk about the financial worries, but he need to talk. It's a very, for me, I'm not a professional, but for me, it's very important to talk between the farmer. That don't have changed. Facebook is not a network to talk. It's a network for many things, but to talk between friends is not. But maybe we can build this kind of the. But now I discovered the producer very good, great need to talk together.
Indeed. Some say later on that, yes, there's some meetings among producers, but the emotional aspect or psychological aspect is rare to open on it. So interpersonal relationship, family, couple. So the first picture on the left with the two farmers say, I love working with my dad. He's like Google to me, rather than, so it's full of resources to work with my dad. I ask him how you used to do that in your time in such business. And instead of saying, okay, Google, it's okay, dad. I really enjoy his company. The second photo with the boy in the field. It was a farmer, like he was wondering what kind of photo he could take, and whoop, he sees his son and grab his phone, click, and he says, quote, it was my son who came to the field with me for the first time. He saw me checking germination of the wheat, and he naturally bent down to do the same. I was really emotional at that moment. It was really beautiful. To the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? His answer was, I want to be a farmer. I think it's fun to see that even if dad himself isn't home often, he finds it fun to come and work in the barn with dad, to work in the field. Third picture, a couple of two farming men, and he says, quote, now that I have my partner, I'm not alone. I have a partner like all other farmers. He come to work with me and him, we have a lot of projects together. We go for it, we're hitting the same nail. And what is catching my attention on it is I have my partner like all other farmers. It was really interesting with the group with gay farmers, how they feel a social pressure to be as normal, like having a partner, having children. So it was something that was discussed quite often, the point of being, I say, normal. Okay, that's the unexpected one. There's a lot of picture of cute kitty cats. I was expecting cows or farm animals, but kittens, not that much. So the first one is a bunch of cats in the barn, and I say, whatever how bad your day is, they always have time to cuddle or to be whenever you have time. Sometimes you're not happy, it feels good to take a 5-minute break on a stale to pet the cats. The second one is from a farming couple saying that sometimes we argue and we raise our voice about the business, and so the cat just stares at us and said, we could see in the face of the cat that we look stupid to him. So we cool down the tone, we take a step back. It's de-escalating, so that was unexpected. And the third one with the cows. For me, calving cows is always a beautiful moment. It's a cycle of life. I'm not proud of me. I'm proud of her. I'm proud of life. So there seems some beautiful moments in the daily activities of farming. Sometimes they take a picture. There's a couple of pictures of projects, so you can see a farm extension, or sometimes they take a picture of the farm before and after. It's a barn that I built. I represent my work, my passion for project. During a project, it's a lot of extra workload. So now, after everything I've been through, when we carry a project, I put people first. Now, when there's a project come to mind, I talk to my team. I ask them, "Are you interested?" You can see the transition and the care for others. Beautiful picture of the landscape, of course. So the first one with the arms in the air. When I'm in the field, that's my happy place. At that moment, I feel extremely powerful. At the moment when he took the picture, I felt that very few seconds I was controlling all of my universe. I was on the ground, the grass was green, the cloud, I felt like I could bring the clouds together. It was just an extremely good feeling. That feeling comes when I'm out in the field, working with the animals and just being grounded to the ground. I hope, well, that's an Anglophone one, so there should not be translation problem about that. Another one, the one on your right. So that's behind my house. I find it relaxing to watch the cattle, especially in the evening or in the morning at dawn. That's what makes me feel about nature. We have a duty to farm animals because they're captive. They have no control over the freedom, but in return, you have to give them good breeding condition and a good quality of life. So again, a sense of care for the animals. Some farmers associate positive mental health with activities outside the farm, like kayak or going on vacation with the family in an RV. So the kayak one, the participant said that this photo is about balance. After a long day of work, short kayak, it's really calms the interior. I'm athletic. I realize I never rest as a farmer. Kayaking allows me to move quietly and then go make peace. When I do activities like this, I sleep better, and the next day the energy inside is different. It really brings something positive to my professional life. And second, the RV one with the beautiful landscape of Malbaie, which is the region north of Quebec City. I drop out when I leave the yard with his RV. First few kilometers, I'm still thinking, I'm stressed out, but doesn't take too long. We work hard to be able to leave. It's a constant struggle to manage and can pick weekends and good time as often as possible. My staff is well aware. When there's a problem, I don't want to be the first called. Sometimes some pictures are discussing stepping out of agriculture partially or totally. This one was about a farmer who decided to leave animal production for good. It was one of the biggest decisions in my life, choosing myself, getting out of environment where I feel suffocated, the only pillar. It means daring to get out of my comfort zone and exploring new things to better blossom. And it's a result of long reflection that required courage. He had a lot of discussion about this, about listening to yourself, taking care of yourself first. Sometimes farmers, they put the farm, they put the family, they put everyone's health and well-being before them. And that brought discussion around the table, well, around, the Zoom meeting about putting yourself first. Sometimes it goes against the idea of being like a relentless worker that do everything for the farm and for the family. And I said, no, you have to put yourself first because no one else will. Sometimes a picture worth 1,000 words, and this one is particularly true. Call this category all dressed because there's so many different topics that was discussed with it. So the guy gets out of his house. He sees like the snow, the roof, and the sky as the same type of blue, white. And he said, that was just a beautiful moment. And I took the picture. And from that, he composed a long discourse. So this photo, I quote, this photo represents a lot of things. The pride I have in my company, the work of 2 generations and the third one on the way. My father, when he rebuilt the building, it was a green roof and white walls. To make it different, I add a green line to the center of the walls. It's psychological, but it's a line of hope for me. A timeline I'm adding to my new buildings. And it makes him being emotional. He said, it wasn't always easy with my family. This line represents hope. We're going to get through it one day. It's going to be better one day. It's going to be behind us. And ask him, what does this photo says about the man you are or the man you want to become? A persevering and resilient man who doesn't just do things simply. The one who always aims for perfection and does things for himself. Does things himself, not for himself, but does things himself. I wish I could be less of a perfectionist because if you want too much, you can make yourself sick and give it into dark thoughts. He was discussing the fact that his neighbor committed suicide and he was really perfectionist and growing. That gives him a sort of a warning sign that he must question whether he wants to be perfectionist or not. So in this simple photo, he was discussing about family, about couple tensions and hope, about business project, and about his relationship to work and neighbor. So different aspect of are addressed with this photo, like intergenerational connection, on-farm project. There's sort of contemplating the territory with the snow, with the sky, and in sort of informal interpretation, he sort of navigates between traditional masculinity, going forward or against, for the sake of his well-being. some photos are really used as a metaphor, and sometimes there's like one participant, he made a poem to explain how what generates positive mental health to him. So this tree, this maple tree, I think it's very interesting because it's sort of bending, but it's not a threat to the house. It's the other way around. So he said, as I'm getting older, I'm a little bit more, I'm bending, but I'm not the one who's going to resist or push the boundaries. I'm the type who find an easy solution. So that's pretty much it for the photos, but we had a lot of discussion that was outside the photos, and sometimes there's some events in the news that is sparkling some great discussion. So when we did the interview, there was like scandal of the palm. We call it the Palmagate, the adding of palm oil into the food of dairy cows. And one farmer in Quebec, he made an opinion letter in many newspapers, so it was a discussion all over the place. That was bringing discussion about the sense of coherence, about I share your anger, I share your skepticism. So one of the participants discussing this topic said, unfortunately, yes, there are some people in society who don't yet see the psychological side, the problem and all. We have to go further, see the positive side. That's what going to cause us to stay hooked on a craft and then stay hooked on life too. The last moment of the interviews, we took a moment and say, what is the take-home message, or what was your experience with the focus group, with the photos? What would you withdraw out of this? And there was a lot of positive message of, I disclosed more than I thought that I would. Sometimes they say, I didn't know what to expect. And as Bruno was saying, we discussed, the discussion time was longer than expected. Quick tip for qualitative interviews, don't book appointment after a meeting. You don't know how much the meeting will do. So the connection was very strong between the participants. The bond and the security that Philippe and Bruno created made the meeting a good place to meet up with other farmers. I just hope that the emotion of this experience can inform other farmers that the process of sharing, connecting, how beneficial it can be, how safe it can feel when it's handled properly. And that's the point of it. It was an amazing opportunity. Thank you for that. Many comments were in the same area, and some brought the idea of, can we meet again among us outside of the research project? Some people in different locations, hey, you're welcome to come to my place. Bruno, do you want to add something about the photos or the experience of the discussion?
I know you explained very good. This comment is resume that the all participants share with us. I don't believe with Zoom before we start this research, and I discovered that a very good. I mean, like this, it's an amazing opportunity to talk each other. I mean, it's very good. But the leader was very good too. That you make a very great job, Philippe, to put each participant good and allies to be
responsible.
Yes.
Thanks. at first we tried to say how we're gonna share the co-facilitation between Bruno and I. So say, oh, I can do this section and you do this section. And finally, it just didn't live. So we had another way that I carry like the structure. And whenever Bruno wants to jump in the conversation, bring an example or share his experience, he was invited to to stop me and go. And that was really great because first, what he was saying was really connected. It really resonated with the participants, and they really enjoyed this this opportunity to learn from an elder farmer. I remember one of the youngest one was 25. I say, wow, I feel really privileged to be here and learn from you guys. So yes, the thing with qualitative research, you have to adapt constantly. You have to reflect on, is this the best way to do research so people feel good? Finally, the gender analysis we're going through, so positive mental health support by, of course, individual activities, meaningful relationship and social activities, but also a sense of coherence with political, social, and community. I was asking the question afterward. So many comments were going to, oh, we have to step away from the model of the relentless worker, but for who is it more accessible and more legitimate to do so? Is it the people who have already reached the standards of this model, or is it those who have seen the negative consequences of this model? Say, like if you know that one of your fellow farmer committed suicide or got into some problems, maybe that's give a reason to step away. And finally, this listening to all the comments, it's really this one thing theoretically that emerges: caring masculinities for themselves, for the family. Just the idea of feeding the people is something, a form of caring masculinity, and also caring masculinities for the cute kittens that we have. And also, there's a couple of dogs as well on the website. You are invited to, if you want to visit the full gallery with the captions from the participants, you're welcome to go to see the website. I want to express my gratitude to the farmers who share their experience, to the steering committee for their insight, to Bruno, who overcome his imposter syndrome to meet my imposter syndrome. And so I think we could create something that was alone, it was impossible to do, but together we made it. And also thank you for your attention.